Hello, everyone. My name is Annabelle, and I am the Assistant Director of Counseling for Northern California here at HS2. Welcome to tonight's seminar. It's called How to Be Competitive for UC Admissions. I'm going to be going over this presentation in detail, but feel free to type in your questions if you have any during the presentation. I will get to them either during the time or afterward, and you can also ask questions at the end. So why are you here today? Basically, to get into top UC campuses. Okay, and I'm going to go over a lot of factors that are going to be important within high school and during the application season for applying to UC campuses. These are our US News rankings for 2022. There are a few changes here, but overall, most of the UC campuses are still top universities. And if we're looking at the span of 10 years from 2011 to 2021, you'll see that overall, there has been a decrease in the acceptance rate from 2011 to 2021. The preliminary data for admissions for all UC campuses for this year is not yet available, but this is the current trend. And you'll see that the campuses with the most difference in acceptance rate are UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, and UC Irvine. Acceptance rates by residency. Again, these are 2021 statistics for the first three columns here. And in the last column here, we have the increase in applications for 2022. And so the school here that has the most change in applicants is UC Berkeley. It has the highest rate of applicants to the university. Again, California tends to have the most applicants to the University of California. Okay, so the admit rate here, even though sometimes it looks like, oh, the number is higher than in other areas, it's actually can be misleading because there are so many applicants that actually apply to the University of California that there's also a large number of students being rejected from these universities. Okay, so it is getting more competitive because of the higher number of applicants. And this is the admission stats by school. Okay, these are the numbers from 2011. All UCs reported a rise in applicants for their individual colleges from the previous year, if you compare the last 2 years there, which resulted in a lower acceptance rate for every school except for UC Merced and UC Riverside. Okay, but even though you see something like UC Berkeley and UCLA having a different admit rate here, UC Berkeley has a higher acceptance rates and more total admits than UCLA, but they are still similar in difficulty. Okay, if you look at acceptance rate in a different way, out of 100 applicants to Berkeley, 85 are rejected out of 100. UCLA would reject 89 out of 100. So it's not that different. These are still two of the most competitive universities. And a lot of this has to do with, again, with the number of applicants applying to the University of California. One of the biggest causes for the increase of applicants was the removal of the SAT and ACT score consideration for the application process. Okay, but that just means that we're going to focus on all the other areas that are important for UC admissions, which I'm going to go over during this presentation. Okay, and overall GPA has stayed important, but all of the extracurriculars activities have increased in importance without having the testing component as part of this. And what you'll also notice by these admissions statistics is that even though there's decreases in some schools, bigger decreases in the admission rate for some schools, it's actually unpredictable. And so our job is to help students be a lot more competitive in all areas because it's unpredictable. So the best chance they have for gaining admissions to universities is to make themselves more competitive. And that prepares them for the lower acceptance rates, so they can actually increase their chance for admission. And that's what we do here at HS2. We help students strengthen the most important factors for admissions in order to be competitive. And so why is it so hard to get into the top UC campuses? Because they are some of the most popular universities in the entire world. Okay, for the second year in a row, the UC broke records for first-year fall applicants. UCLA had 149,779 freshman applicants for this year. They are, again, the top university for a number of freshman applicants. And UC Berkeley also had record numbers, 128,192 freshman applicants. And then almost 20,000 transfer applications. And so our job is to help you maximize your admissions potential for the UC system. And you can work on that by knowing the 13 evaluation factors used by admissions readers. And I'm going to go over each one of those evaluation factors. Again, UCs do not use the SAT and ACT for evaluation anymore. And so if you're looking toward the future, this is not included right now currently. And for the next couple of years, it still will not be included. It will not be considered for admission through the fall 2024 application cycle. Okay, and beyond that, it's still to be determined. They're still going to determine what that's going to be in the future. So we do not know for sure what's going to happen after 2024. If students do submit their scores, they may be used to, for placement purposes or that kind of thing. And so the factor number one for the evaluation for UCs is GPA, specifically the A through G courses. So the GPA in all A through G courses includes the UC honors courses. And if you don't know what A through G requirements are, basically these are your academic courses. And it means that for UCs, students have to complete and pass classes in a specific number of years for each subject. So for history, 2 years, for English, 4 years, math, 3 years, lab science, 2 years, language other than English, 2 years, VPA, 1 year, and college prep elective, 1 year. This is the minimum requirement for A through G requirements. Minimum requirement does not guarantee you get admitted to the UCs. This is the minimum requirement. Colleges always expect students to take more than the minimum requirement in order to be competitive for admissions. And UCs factor in only A through G classes in 10th and 11th grade. Courses taken during the summer still count as part of the GPA, of the UC GPA. And one of the things to note is you have to have a 3.0 minimum to be eligible for UCs. And another factor is there is a cap of 8 weighted honors credits that are counted for the UC weighted GPA. Okay, so these things are very specific to the UC calculation for the GPA, the way that the university is going to evaluate on your application. And one exception for the 8 weighted courses is that, or 8 weighted credits, is that college courses go above the cap of 8 weighted semesters. And so if you took college courses and got credit for those would count in increasing your GPA for college admissions for the UCs. As I mentioned, coursework beyond the minimum A through G requirements is important. Again, to be competitive. There's a difference between meeting the minimum requirements and actually being competitive for admissions. So this includes the number of coursework that you take beyond minimum A through G and the performance that you have in these required courses. And so our tip is to aim to challenge yourself by taking even harder classes through the UC cap weighted. So sometimes students think, oh, well, it's capped at this many, so I don't need to take more weighted semesters. That's not true. Again, showing colleges that you're challenging yourself is so important for admissions. Many serious candidates, the top UCs, have 4 of the core subjects like math and science, even if not required. And not even just math and science, even like foreign language, like those subjects, like if you take beyond the minimum requirements, is extremely valuable for UC admissions. College level coursework. So again, it's not just the number of coursework that you actually take, but also how you perform in these classes. This includes UC approved honors, advanced placement, IB, and transferable college courses. Okay, schools that practice holistic review, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, such as UC Berkeley and UCLA, look to advanced coursework to see your potential to thrive at their campus. This means that they know that the work that you're going to have to do on the college campus is rigorous, it's difficult, it's challenging, and by taking more courses, college level coursework, you're showing that you're able to succeed in that type of coursework later. Okay, so one thing to note here is that colleges are comparing you to a few different pools of students. They're comparing you to students in your high school. They're comparing you to students in your district. And then they're also comparing you to other students applying to that University of California campus. Okay, so you're being compared to a lot of people. And that means that again, you want to do the best work and actually challenge yourself as much as possible, because a lot of students in those pools actually are doing that and much more. And then colleges look at both unweighted and weighted GPA. Okay, the total number of weighted classes offered in the school is important for admissions officers because they can see how students took advantage of the resources offered to them in their schools and not be penalized if their school didn't offer many weighted classes. So some students feel like, oh, well, I can't compare to that student who their school allows them to take like a whole bunch of AP courses, but my school limits the amount of AP courses I can take. It's not true because, again, they're comparing you to students like from different pools, but they also take into account the resources available to you, what's available to you from your specific school or district or whatever it is. Okay, the next factor for evaluation is eligibility in the local context. And basically, this is being ranked top 9% in your high school at the end of junior year. The only thing about this that is tricky is it doesn't mean you're guaranteed admission to UC Berkeley. Okay, usually that's just one UC campus, and it's typically UC Merced because that usually has the most space. So I wouldn't depend on this as, hey, this is my in to get into the UC or to UC Berkeley or any other campus. You still have to work to actually get admitted. Okay, but they look at this by the end of junior year, and if you're even if it guarantees you a spot, if you're looking to get into one of the top universities, you have to do a lot more work. And then you can also be eligible on a statewide level instead, and they evaluate that as well. Eligibility is determined by UC GPA and approved coursework completed in 10th and 11th grade. Okay, so factor number 5 is senior year coursework. So they look at the work you're doing in 12th grade. A lot of students feel like, okay, well, it's senior year, I'm already applying to college and I'm already adding my GPA to my college application. Why does senior year matter? Well, on your college applications, you're actually reporting your senior year coursework, and they're actually using that in the evaluation process. And apparently, if you're seeing it's part of their top evaluation factors, you should probably like put a lot of effort into how you choose your senior year coursework. Okay, it's measured by the type and number of academic courses in progress or planned during senior year when you apply to the universities. And then again, even if they don't see your grades for 12th grade until after they may have even admitted you, because you may get admissions before March, they're still basing it on the rigor of your senior year coursework. Okay. And then poor grades in senior year could actually take away your admissions. So it's still important that you do well in your senior year coursework. Factor number 6 for evaluation is relative academic performance. And basically the quality of your academic performance relative to the educational opportunities available in your high school. So this is what I was talking about when, hey, at your school, they don't offer a lot of AP classes, or they have a limit to how many AP classes you can take. These things can be explained on your college application. So they're gonna keep those factors in mind when they're actually evaluating you on your application, okay? And students who may attend lower performing schools aren't penalized for where they go. Okay, as long as they show that their performance, that they did well in the courses they actually took, and they took advantage of what was available to them. So if at their school there's not a lot, but they took the most difficult courses and they did as much as they could, yeah, that's what colleges are going to look at in their admissions process. Okay, factor number 7, specific subject performance. So this is referring to outstanding performance in one or more specific subject areas. A lot of the times, it's great to be well-rounded in terms of your academics, but if you excel specifically in one area, it actually stands out a lot for your college applications. You can, especially if it's related to your major, you can demonstrate exemplary performance beyond grades through your essays, okay? Students can show how they went above and beyond what courses have to offer in certain subject areas through research papers, performance in activities, awards, etc. There's ways to actually showcase that, hey, you're excelling in one specific area. And then, of course, performance in competitions, whether they're national, international, state level, any of them. And it's not just the examples that we have here, like the Physics Olympiad or AMC. It could be any type of competitions. And we have a lot of competitions that we suggest to students here at HS2 that are open to the general public. So there's a lot of competitions out there and a lot of ways to actually showcase that you excel in specific subject areas. And this is especially important when it comes to your actual major, showing the field that you're interested in, okay? And which is why it plays such huge weight. Factor number 8 for evaluation, special projects. And this means outstanding work in one or more special projects in any academic field or study. This does not need to be related to major. It's great if you're doing a project related to your major, but special projects unrelated to your major can stand out as well, because colleges look at the overall effort you put into it, the impact that you made, the skills that you developed. They're looking at a lot of factors when it comes to special projects. It can include summer programs, it can include activities done through summer programs, internships, performances, or research with college professors. Again, this showcases your ability to excel on the college campus, and this is why it plays such a big role. Yes, you can show them, hey, I can take all these AP courses and get good grades, but they know that there's more to the college experience and more that you have to excel at in order to be successful at the university. And so being able to do projects and be successful with those plays a big factor for admissions. Factor number 9, improvement trends. So sometimes students are intimidated because maybe they didn't do well in their academics, and now on their transcript it shows, for 9th grade that they didn't have the best grades, or in 10th grade even, like they didn't have the best grades. Well, if you do better in the next year and the next year and you keep doing better, it's showing a trend. Okay, so improvement in academic performance through GPA or quality of coursework completed can actually show colleges that, yeah, you're able, like, maybe you didn't do well at first, but you improved. You found ways to improve, you overcame that challenge, and now you're performing a lot better. So they look at improvement trends, okay? This is mainly related to grades here, but this could also be discussed like in essays if, like, let's say a student struggled with doing other things in 9th or 10th grade, but they're doing more of it in later years. There are ways that can actually explain those on the college application. Okay, so factor number 10 is special talents, achievements, and awards. There's actually an entire section for awards and honors on the UC application. And of course, they're looking for students that have special talents and achievements, meaning that they're really good at certain things that a lot of other students maybe are not as good at, or they stand out in a certain way. And achievements and awards are important because they actually showcase that you're skilled in something, because usually you'll be able to win an award related to that or be honored for that. Okay, this can be related to visual and performing arts, communication, sports, special skills. It could be related to hobbies. It could be related to music, through written or oral proficiency in other languages, exploring cultures. It could be demonstrated through leadership, not just having a leadership position, but actually doing something unique with that and accomplishing something big with that. Okay. It could be demonstrated through community service, through student government, or pretty much any other experience out there. Okay. But it does need to be personal to that student. And it's about quality and quantity of what they're able to showcase to colleges in terms of awards and that kind of thing. Factor number 11 is school projects. Okay, so completion of school projects undertaken in the context of your high school curriculum or with school events, projects, and programs is included in this. Okay, this can include STEM requirements at a high school, such as if they have specific tech programs, or required volunteer hours. Okay, yes, it's required of you, but they're still looking at the performance and what you actually completed and the experience you had through that, because they know it's a learning experience and that you could build special talents to doing these types of activities. Other examples include requirements for an IB diploma or fundraising for a school club or being a part of ASB and actually accomplishing something big through that role. Factor number 12, challenges or adversity. So this has to do with a student's specific circumstances sometimes. So being able to succeed academically with specific life experiences that you're going through can be impressive to colleges, and they want to hear your story. Okay, and this is includes, but is not limited to, disabilities, low family income, first generation to attend college, needing to work to earn money for your family or something like that, disadvantaged social or educational environment, difficult personal or family situations, refugee status, or veteran status. So these are just examples. There are a whole lot of stories that you may have for college admissions readers later when you actually fill out the application. And sometimes you can't control what's actually happening, but being able to talk about that and still perform well academically is impressive to colleges. And if it affects your academic performance, let's say you don't perform as well, like during a certain time due to circumstances, again, that they encourage you to talk about that in your college, in your UC application and essays. Factor number 13, this is one that is pretty much out of your control, is your geographical diversity. This is the next evaluation factor that colleges or the UC college admissions looks at and evaluates for admissions. Location of your school and residence. Again, this is a small thing, you can't control it, but just know that it does, the UCs do take it into account. Like for certain students who may come from underserved areas, they might, give more leeway to, or students that are not represented on their campus for any given year, because again, that changes per year. Or maybe even from other states or countries, because they're always looking for diversity on their campuses. So any year, whatever they're looking for, whatever they need, they may, admit more students in that area versus another year or versus another area. So now that you know the evaluation factors, you should know the evaluation process, okay? UC admissions reading is only a few minutes long. Yes, for this entire application you spend months working on, they're only going to look at it for a few minutes. That still means that the work you put on there is really important. Because if you have a weak application, they're not going to pay attention to much in those few minutes that they look at it. Each file is read by 2 UC readers, usually high school counselors or formal admissions officers working part-time. Okay, but it could be almost anyone who's a UC reader. A typical reader spends 5 to 9 minutes per application total, only 2 to 4 minutes reading your 4 essays. Yes, they read fast. But we spend a lot of time with the essays, because if you have a really good essay, trust me when I say that they're going to try to spend more time on it rather than just skimming it. If you have something really interesting to say or interesting story. Each reader will evaluate the application using the 13 factors to evaluate the student's GPA, activities, and essays, and then we'll make their determination as to if they're going to admit the student or not. And if the 2 readers cannot reach an agreement, the file goes to extended review, and an admissions officer serves as a 3rd reader to make the final decision. So basically, like 2 readers cannot make a decision. So they're just getting an outside opinion to determine if you're going to be admitted to the university. Now, what is holistic review? What I just talked about pretty much are the items covered in holistic review. Most UC campuses utilize this practice, and it means they evaluate the 13 factors in total, not allowing any single factor to play a deciding role in how the applicant is considered. So they're not just going to look at one thing and then not look at everything else. They're going to look at all 13 factors, because if you didn't do well academically, but they see that in the number 12 factor that you actually had these circumstances that stopped you from doing well, or made things difficult, then yeah, they're going to look at that as a whole. Campus is using holistic review. Okay, so it's most of the campus that uses holistic review. And Santa Barbara and Merced do not. They still look at these factors, but they put a lot of weight on certain areas. So UC Berkeley defines holistic review as the following factors: academic achievement, so rigor of your courses and grades, which we covered; personal qualities such as leadership, character, motivation, insight, tenacity, initiative, originality; intellectual independence, responsibility, maturity, and demonstrated concern for others. And they recognize all of these things through your application, through the activities, through the descriptions, through your essays. Likely contributions to intellectual and cultural vitality of the campus. How will you add to that UC campus? Performance on standardized tests. This is not evaluated anymore after the 14 evaluation factors turned to 13. So that this was from a previous year. Achievement academic enrichment programs. And so, yeah, it's not just joining or applying to and participating in these programs, but also doing well and gaining a positive experience from it. And then other evidence of achievement. So this recognizes exemplary sustained achievement in any field of intellectual or creative endeavor. Okay, accomplishments in extracurricular activities such as the performing arts or athletics, leadership in school or community organizations, employment, and volunteer service. So again, this is how Berkeley has defined holistic review process in the past years, minus the standardized tests, because that's not actually a part of evaluation anymore. But this is a general idea of how the colleges look at holistic review. Okay, I'm going to talk about the UC application a bit, like the pieces of the application, and some items in there that you can actually be strategic about when you actually do this or fill out the application. Some key things to know are the key dates. So the August 1st is when the UC application goes live. Anything, if you're able to create an account before that, the application may change on August 1st, because every year it goes live on August 1st. From October 1st to November 30th, this is the UC filing period. This is a new filing period. This year, starting fall 2021, they are opening 1 month earlier. What that means is students can actually submit this app earlier, okay? Which actually is an advantage to them, not necessarily for admissions purposes, because they'll still be evaluated whether they submit it in October or November. But because students have a lot of more other work to do, this allows them to get this out of the way and actually work on their other universities and applications. Also, like starting early and completing the UC essays and work will allow them to reuse some of their work or some of the other material for other applications as well. March is when the admissions decisions are released, and May 1st is the deadline to submit your SIR, which is your statement of intent to register. That's when you choose what university you're going to attend the following fall. Okay, so choosing a major on the UC application, this is one of the biggest ways that you can be strategic for admissions, knowing how this works at the UC campuses. So you can choose one major and another alternate major on the application at every single UC campus except for UC Berkeley. So at UC Berkeley, you choose one major and that's it. Some colleges within a university may have lower acceptance rates. This is a given. We talk here at HS2, we talk to students about that early on, because that affects like everything you do in high school. Certain majors may not allow a student to do internal transfer. Okay, so there are policies depending on the school and the university and the campus as to like how easy it is to actually change majors. And then specialized majors like engineering may require students to discuss their interest in one of their essays. And we actually encourage all students to write at least one of their UC essays related to their major. So the definition of impacted majors, if you don't know, means that they're capped because of space or because of financial constraints. These majors are difficult departments to get into because of the rigor of the program, and that increases their popularity. So this example of Berkeley engineering being 8.5 versus 15 overall percent shows you that, hey, if you just change your major, you could actually increase your chance for admission. And we help students strategize in this way here at HS2. Students are expected to have a stronger numbers, but also evidence to show they can handle the major. Okay, so there's a lot of work that goes into actually building evidence for major and being competitive in that field, so that when you choose it on the college application, you could actually have a good chance for admission. Examples of impacted colleges or majors are UC Berkeley's College of Engineering and UC Berkeley's College of Chemistry, UC San Diego School of Bioscience. Yeah, okay, let's see. Here's an actual list of the most competitive majors at UCs. Okay, so you'll see that I'll just go over like some of the ones that stand out here and that students should be aware of because they're really popular. So engineering, computer science are typically the most competitive majors at all UCs. Okay, every single campus, they're the most competitive majors. At many schools that allow direct entry into the programs, the most competitive majors can be business and health related majors. So a lot of students who are trying to do biology or pre-med or business, they're going to have just as a tough time as it is like for computer science and engineering. Okay, and that's why it's important not just to be strategic on the college application, but also when you're filling out that application to actually have an alternative major, because you're choosing an alternate major. Remember, you're choosing 2 majors at most campuses. To choose one that does not fall within the typical major categories, but can lead to the same career path. And we help with that here at HS2. We help you in how to select majors and what could actually work to help you reach your ultimate goal. Like, let's say you're trying to go pre-med, but you want to pick something different than biology. We'll help you find something that actually help you strategize for that. Okay, an example is like if you're studying human development or biochem at UC San Diego, that would be easier than choosing biology directly. Okay, and they can still pursue pre-med. These are the most popular majors at UCs in general, but it varies by campus. Okay, so in general, for all the UCs, these are the most popular majors, but for UC Santa Cruz, for example, they have the greatest amount of students in their humanities and social science departments, not engineering. Whereas for most overall for UCs, engineering is actually one of the most popular majors. But even majors such as psychology and poli-sci are actually popular majors. They're not impacted as the others, but they're popular. So a lot of students apply under these majors. So on the college application, academic coursework is self-reported, okay, to be evaluated. And as a reminder of the evaluation, going back to the 13 factors for evaluation, academic coursework has a lot of weight on admissions and is one of the top priorities. So you'll see here the 7 evaluation factors out of the 13 are related to academic coursework, right? So not just the courses you take, but your performance in them is important. And so what you do during high school will actually be shown on your college application through the coursework they're actually reporting and the grades you actually report on there. And it shouldn't only focus on during high school, but reporting it accurately on the application. And again, not just courses and grades, even though this is related to academics, it could be activities related to academics as well. Okay, so you could describe that in the activity section of your app, and it would still be very important to the evaluation process. Test scores, again, these are not going to be considered and are currently not considered when making admissions decision or scholarships. Okay, but is it still possible to send the test scores? Yes, you can. So there is still space on the apps to actually include them, but they're not going to use it for admissions purposes. They may use it for restricted scholarships, so not the typical scholarships that that they're actually awarding. They may use it for course placement after enrollment or eligibility in the statewide context. So they may use it for different things, but it's not mandatory. It's not used for admissions. And if you send the actual official test scores, they're not going to look at it. Okay. So activities and awards on the UC application. So unlike the Common App, which allows up to 10, the UC applications allows up to 20 activities and awards total. Okay, this is currently how the application is designed. And it has 6 different categories, which you can see there below. Students should be strategic in how they prioritize and describe their activities on the UC application. Okay. In the past, students had space for like a certain amount of activities in each category, but now colleges, they just want it to be your top 20 activities or awards. It could come from any of these categories, but you do have to identify what category it's from. And so if all of your awards and activities are just from volunteer work, you're going to be missing some areas here. Like they're going to be wondering, where are your awards and honors? What kind of educational prep programs have you done? So they're going to be looking at the variety of where you actually report your activities and awards. And a tip is to prioritize activities most related to your chosen major to serve as evidence for your major, and also those that show leadership. Like you should always like prioritize those. That should be a big thing for you. Okay. And how the UCs evaluate activities. So your extracurriculars show that you take initiative to participate in activities. Okay. And that's important because that prepares you for your major, and it prepares you for making an impact when you actually attend the university. And so if you can showcase that on your college application, they're actually going to take that into account. At least 1 or 2 of your core activities should be related to your future major. We talk about evidence for major. This is saying at least 1 or 2. Again, it's so important to actually do more than the minimum of what it takes to actually be impressive for college admissions, especially for the UCs, because they actually use this in the evaluation process. And then again, leadership is important because it helps you distinguish yourself from other applicants, to showcase the kind of skills you actually demonstrated as a leader. And as a leader, usually you have some kind of impact on your community or on those you actually lead. And so you're going to be able to describe those things on your college application as well. And then again, the reason why it's important for them is because when you attend that university, you're going to have the potential, they'll see your potential to actually do similar things on their campus. So school or community service activities demonstrate concern for others. So yes, sometimes students do this just for hours, or they have personal reasons why they do this. But for holistic review, this is actually important because even if you started by doing it as, for a requirement, they know that by doing these activities, you start learning the value of community service. Okay. Exceptional involvement in certain activities can also be a plus factor for admissions, especially if you participate in that activity in college. Okay. Obviously, they're not going to see it till you attend college, but they're looking at your potential to actually participate in college. High-level activities like internships can also demonstrate high levels of academic preparation for your major. And this would count in like the educational prep programs, like internships or summer programs or that kind of thing. So another reason why your activities play such an important role is because for UC applications, you're required to write 4 UC essays. And these essays, your topics are going to ask you questions that relate to factors that you should have been involved with in high school. Okay, and you're required to write 4 out of the 8 topics. And these are the personal insight questions. Number 1 is an example of your leadership experience. Again, if you were not a leader in high school, you're not going to be able to write this essay. Number 2 is talking about your creative side. Number 3 is what would you say is your greatest talent or skill and how you've demonstrated that talent over time. Number 4 is describe how you've taken advantage of a significant educational opportunity or worked to overcome an educational barrier. Number 5 is describing your most significant challenge and how you have overcome that challenge. They also leave space for how it's affected your academic achievement. This relates to evaluation factor number 12, which talks about your personal experience, personal circumstances that may have impacted your achievements. Number 6 is describe your favorite academic subject and explain how it has influenced you. And again, because one of your UC essays has to be related to why major, a lot of students use this for that. You can use any of the essays for your major related essay. What have you done to make your school or community a better place? That's community service related. And number 8 is open-ended. What makes you stand out from other applicants? And really that seems like it should be easy, but it's actually hard because if it doesn't fit into the other categories here or other prompts, then you actually have to think of something really unique that makes you stand out. And what you should know about the personal insight questions, these are just some tips. Frame information that answers the 6 W's about you and your experiences. So who, what, when, where, why, and how. Self-reflection, being reflective is so important. Okay, why is it critical to your identity? Okay, and the details of that. Focus on content, not style. We can help you with the style if you need to, but UCs are more concerned about the content. Use I statements. This essay should be about you. Don't talk about we or other people. Well, you can talk about them, but you need to actually focus on yourself. And then write persuasively. You remember, you're trying to persuade them to admit you to the university, so you have to have that kind of mindset when writing. At HS2, we help with essay writing, obviously. So like we can help you gear your essays toward these factors. And then again, why you need to make sure that you're including why the information that you're talking about is important or relevant, that you're not just going on a tangent and talking about something that's not really that big. So in summary, how to succeed in being competitive for UC admissions. So always work hard to try your best to get A's, especially in your A through G courses, taking more than the minimum A through G courses per category, taking the initiative to take extra college courses, online or community college. Have a strong senior year course schedule. UC readers will still see your reported 12th grade courses on your applications, so take more academic and AP courses. In terms of activities, in general, have a broad range of extracurricular activities, but make sure you're showing evidence for your major, and you could do that through leadership, volunteer work, developing talents, awards, summer research, or competitive programs. In terms of essays, highlight your strengths, try to emphasize your most important activities and experiences through your essays. Make sure your essays go beyond simply describing the activities and get them to see the passion and interest that you have. And this is just in a summary of what you need to make sure you're taking care of and that you're excelling at and you're putting effort into. But it's not always easy. And so here at HS2, we assist our students and we assist you in actually like being able to take advantage of programs and opportunities that are available so you can help build your resume for college admissions and to actually be successful. And that's important when you know the important factors for UC admissions. Okay, so at HS2, we do have several programs that are still open for summer. And one of them is our George Mason University Summer Internship. This is GMU's Young Scholars Research Internship, and it is Earthfinder Space Observatory Research and Data Applications for NASA Astronomy Missions. You don't have to be majoring in data science or computer science to actually, or engineering to take advantage of this, okay? Anyone who can actually use research experience or gain research skills to showcase what they're trying to do in college or to show they're trying to improve their skills can benefit from this kind of experience, okay? And you'll see that during this program, there are several methods that will be used, but there are actually more than this that are actually going to be offered, okay? And again, it's not just for specific majors. This can apply to any major where research experience is actually going to be valuable because you're learning certain skills, okay, that can be applied to many industries. Our other programs that are still open are HS2 UCR Summer 2022 courses and certificate programs. One of our certificate programs is Intro to UX UI Design. And basically it's a boot camp with an interdisciplinary approach to design thinking. Okay, so you can see here that students will get to do hands-on work for design research and design thinking using a variety of design tools. And again, you don't have to be a specific major to take advantage. If a student has a special interest, this is another certificate they can add to their college application to build their resume. We also have the UCR College Credit Program. And basically these are courses you can take for credit through UC Riverside. Right now, a high school student cannot register for UC Riverside's college level classes except through this program. And it was developed through partnership with HS2. Okay, and so these courses are applied data science, study of race and ethnicity, Python, or data-oriented introduction to computing, Python, and financial accounting and reporting. Study of race and ethnicity is actually extremely valuable no matter what your field is, because it is one of those courses that is probably going to be a required course at the UCs very soon. Okay, and so they value it a lot for college admissions to be able to take a course like this. And so students can register for these courses and choose the one that maybe will help them build evidence for their major or something to help them increase their GPA. So there's a lot of advantages to actually taking a course from our college credit program. Now, obviously, one of our biggest programs is our HS2 counseling program, okay? Everything I had talked about that is important for making you a strong applicant for college admissions is a lot of work, whether it's related to academics, related to testing, related to extracurriculars, related to projects, related to essays. It's a lot of work. Our counselors here at HS2, they take all of that and organize it for you and help you make sense of everything. They make sure you're going to be successful. And then we save you time by eliminating activities you don't need for college admissions, or that's not going to be as important if you have to prioritize what you're doing or you have limited time. Okay, so we can help you clarify your goals for your major. We can help you clarify your goals for college admissions. We can help motivate you if you're not as motivated. We can help you handle difficult situations. And basically, we're helping you make sure you're successful throughout your time here, through high school and through app season. And our college counseling program is one of the biggest and most successful in the US. Okay, we meet with students meet with professional counselors one-on-one every month until they graduate from high school. Every counselor is graduated from a top college. Students can be getting counseling from 5th grade. And over the past 10 years, more than 95% of all seniors who graduated said they would recommend HS2 Academy to their friends. And then of course, we have 20 years of experience getting hundreds of students into top colleges, okay? And you'll even see with our results that our results are actually even more impressive because the community that we serve, a majority of HS2 applicants are Asian American minorities. And so the numbers that we have here are actually better than the published ones, okay? Because we know that it is actually a lot more competitive for our students to get admitted to these schools. These are our overall results for 2022, okay? And for overall from 2014 to 2022, these are total acceptances. You'll see a lot of top universities in here, including UC Berkeley and UCLA, where you see it reaches almost 1,000 for those schools. There at the bottom right. So I'm gonna actually go through the Q&A because I didn't actually go through that during the presentation. So feel free to add to that if you do have questions. I'm just gonna go down through the list and actually answer these questions. Okay, so examples, so we're asking, examples of courses beyond A through G requirements. So beside, I'm thinking you're talking about not A through G requirements. Those courses beyond A through G requirements. So if you're not doing A through G requirements, there are some courses that don't actually have a lot of weights, just PE or health. But sometimes there are courses that students take that are just electives. So if you're saying beyond A through G requirements, one thing is you can take more than the minimum required A through G requirements. So if they say, hey, we require 3 math courses, you could take 4 math courses. If they say that, hey, we require this many, like all these categories, you can take electives. You can take other courses in those fields still, and those are additional electives. Okay, so those are A through G courses, but it goes beyond the requirements. If you're talking about courses that are not A through G courses, you can actually look. If you take a course at a community college, they'll actually tell you it's A through G approved. So you'll actually be able to see that on a university's description of the course. Next question is dual enrollment community college course. Include or exclude 8 cap when, oh my goodness, when calculating UC weighted GPA. So the 8 capped is for what you're taking at your high school. If you take community college courses, these are in addition to that. So they will count your community college courses for weighted GPA. Is ELC based on uncapped weighted GPA or capped? So they're actually looking at your overall. They're looking at weighted and unweighted. So you'll actually be able to look at that on the website. It's easy to look that up online for the actual details of ELC. But UCs actually look at weighted and unweighted GPA. If you want to see how it's evaluated, look at the actual website because they describe it there. Would you recommend explaining the restriction of course selection due to the school district policy in the additional information? For example, choosing a single accelerated math pathway initially would prevent you from taking certain math classes at school, even if you excel in all math courses taken. Yes, absolutely. Anything you have to explain, you could explain in your additional info section of any of your applications, not just UCs. We help you in how you explain that because there's a certain way to say that. You don't want to make things sound like an excuse or whatever. And there's strategy involved with how you actually describe this. But yes, basically you can explain anything you want to explain in the additional info. So if you're limited with something, absolutely you should explain that. Does UC Cosmos help with UC admissions? Would it be helpful to get, hold on. Does UC Cosmos help with UC admissions? Would it be helpful to get a letter of recommendation from the faculty at a summer program? So UC Cosmos is an educational prep program. So yes, it could help you for admissions to have an advantage because of the experience you get out of it. Okay, it's not just listing it, it's actually what you're able to do at UC Cosmos and how it pertains to your major and whatever your goals are and whatever you're describing on your college application. Now, would it be helpful to get a letter of recommendation from someone at a summer program? Yes, if it's impressive. So, and by the way, UCs don't do letters of recommendation. So that doesn't actually apply to UCs, but if you're talking about like other universities, then sure. Because it's, they'll be able to say something positive about you. Is work experience helpful? Absolutely. Almost any experience you have can be helpful in some way, depending on what you actually get out of it. And this is why it's important, like as a student in HS2, to actually pay attention to like what we're actually having with, because counselors actually talk about how you can make an experience more beneficial for your college applications. There's so much you can do and so many things you can join and sign up for, but if you don't know what to do with that or how to approach it or what to do while you're at, how you're going to use it in your applications or essays, it's not as useful. Okay, but yes, work experience can be helpful to show paid work experience. If the family doesn't, if the family doesn't fall into low income category, should we still fit into the parents' income info, level of education, etc.? Fit in the parents' income. I'm not sure what that's asking. Yeah, I'm not sure what that's asking. So maybe you could clarify, or maybe that's case specific. Like if you're thinking about like your specific income level or level of education, you do fill out this information on the college application, but I doubt you're talking about for admissions purposes. So, I mean, if you're just talking about like, hey, you want to talk about it in an essay that we're low income or something like that, yeah, you can describe it in your college essays. You can write about it, like how that affected you. So that might be what you're talking about. I'm not sure. But yeah, if it's posed like, okay, go ahead, Vicky. Okay. Can I store some information in UC application system now? Will anything be impacted after August? So like I said, the application goes live on August 1st. If they change something, you're at risk of losing whatever it is, or you might not have the correct information because they may change something on the application. So I can't stop you from actually doing it if the application is actually like there and you're able to create an account. But we typically wait till August 1st to make sure that we have the accurate information and any updates that they actually put on the application itself. Because there are some years where they have changed things very last minute, right when it opened on August 1st. So yeah, you can fill it out, but you might be wasting some of your time if something changes. Does playing basketball varsity team for school considered as a high school activity? Yes, it is a high school activity because it is basketball. It is a sport. Sports are considered a high school activity. Mostly anything you do can be an activity. Again, like you don't have to worry, is this count as activity or not? Do the things that you feel passionate about, that you're interested in. It's easy to explain those things on your college application and find a way to include it on there. Is it a good idea to apply to unrelated majors for different campuses? Unrelated majors for different campuses. Okay. So like if you apply for one major at one campus and then another major at a different campus, that's fine. Sometimes it is a good idea because maybe if one of those majors it was impacted, or you don't, you're being evaluated a certain way, that you might have a better chance to get admitted at another campus with a different major. Okay. Another reason why that might be helpful is because each campus evaluates differently. So maybe at one campus, it's harder to get into this major. At another campus, it's easier. And so we strategize in how we pick majors on the college application. One way it might hurt you is if you've done all your preparation throughout high school for one major or one specific field, and now you want to pick different majors at different campuses, but you don't have evidence for that. That's one reason it might hurt you. But overall, yeah, it's fine to like pick different majors at different campuses. Regarding the improvement trend, is it a disadvantage to take more AP classes in junior and therefore not as high scores as in 10th grade? So the plan is to take more rigorous courses and to perform better, both of the above. That is the best case scenario. If you didn't do well in 9th or 10th grade, we probably wouldn't recommend you taking too many AP courses because you're probably not going to do well again. It's going to be very hard to do that if you were not able to handle it in your younger years. Okay, so yeah, don't do it at the risk of like doing badly in those classes, even if you show more AP courses. Okay, there is a balance you have to find, and we help students find that balance here at HS2 so that you're taking a good number of weighted classes, but you're also able to handle it and actually impress. Because there are other ways you can actually take rigorous courses besides AP classes. The next question is GPA weighted by semester or school year? They're looking at each semester. So GPA, yeah, so depending on how your high school actually reports it on your transcript. So they're following your transcript. You are self-reporting, but you're copying everything exactly off your transcript, basically for your college application. And most students will have a final grade per semester, unless they do trimesters at their school, or they're a specific high school that only has 1 year grade. Okay. First generation colleges. This is more like by the family of first generations, first year actually applying to college. That's what we mean by first generation. The UC campuses are one kind of campus. It's not like different colleges. And the last question I have here is, if you don't fill in the income info, would that negatively impact your chance to get admitted to UC? No, if it's an optional part, it will not, but it will affect your ability to apply for scholarships or financial aid. And we do encourage it because you can be offered scholarships, like even if it doesn't relate to, or maybe you might change your mind about, or something might change later. And so having submitted that information will help. If a junior takes a lot of AP classes because sophomore year you were doing well, sure, but the actual score is not good, impact on UC admissions. Actual score, like your grades in the class are not good. So if I'm looking at a B in an AP class or an A in a regular class, that B in the AP class is better. Okay, if you're asking which one's better, that if you end up getting a D in the AP class, that's worse. Okay, so it depends on what not good means. But again, like making sure you're balancing the amount of AP classes you choose is important. So that doesn't happen. You don't end up getting C's, D's, or F's or something like that. Okay. Do I have other questions here? Let me see the chat really quick. Okay, so I have some questions here in the chat. I don't know if this is answered. For the UC personal insight question number 6, can you talk about a subject that is similar to the major you will choose? For instance, you like engineering, but will declare your major in computer science. Can you talk about a subject that's similar? You can talk about anything for UC number 6. You can even talk about history, even if you're an engineering major. The thing is, one of your essays for the UCs, it could be number 1 through 8, any of them has to be related to your field to show your interest and demonstrate your evidence. Because an essay is not just writing one sentence about what you did, it's writing a whole story about your experience. It's an actual full essay, but it doesn't need to be number 6. So number 6 can be about anything, any subject that interests you, no matter what your major is. Okay. Let me see. Another questions or a couple other questions. Let me see. For the essay, do you have to write each prompt or do you need to pick a few? So the prompts are already there. So they have 8 prompts. Those will probably not change anytime soon. They're the ones that I showed in this presentation. And basically you pick 4 out of the 8. So there are 8 prompts there, you know, leadership, community service, whatever. You pick 4 out of them. Okay, any 4 that you want. And then you write an essay about them. And then you fill it out on the college application. All right. Okay, any other questions? You can add them to the chat, Q&A. Okay. Let's see.